and welcome to episode 21 of Dynamically Spoken, the weekly Guild Wars 2 podcast brought to you by GuildMag. Of course, as always, I am joined by the wonderful Ali and Steve. Say hey, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Unfortunately, once again, Jason can't make it again, but we promise he will be here on the next episode. So, this week we are going to be talking about the Bazaar of the Four Winds update, and on top of that we also have some exciting news about the future of this podcast, what's going to be happening over the next few episodes, but more on that at the end. So let's just kick off the show with the news as always. Since Jason isn't here, Ali's going to do it for us once again.
Yay! Okay. Let me prepare my Jason-esque voice. Okay. This week in the news, Ada is trying to get 1 million likes. If they reach 1 million likes on their Facebook page, everyone in game will get some goodies. So definitely, if you haven't done it yet, go over to Facebook and like their Facebook. There has been a lot of stuff data mined in the last few weeks, including a new bank tab, bank expansion slots, new hairstyles, playable flutes, basketball, which could be a new mini game, and lots of information about the upcoming living story, which we will talk about later in the show. Yay! This week there's new areas, new UI, 2 new mini games, new PvP map, just lots of new stuff and lots of new content. So yeah, that's just way too much for me to cover in this section, so keep listening.
Yay.
And a lot of fantastic new lore came out regarding the Zephyrite, which has all the lore fanatics in a frenzy. So if you are interested in lore and you have read Destiny's Edge and you know a little bit about the first game, this is something that you would really understand. And if you know nothing about that, you can get on it and start learning about it now and go and check out the Guild Wars 2 page for the link. Oh, we're going to talk about that, so yeah. Don't read it yet.
It's something I actually know stuff about.
Alright, so if you went to go and click the link below, stop it right now. I'm watching you. Okay, we're good. That is the news for this week.
Alright, Bazaar of the Four Winds, let's go.
Yay!
So we'll kick things off then with Labyrinthine Cliffs. I've never been able to say that. And
I don't know how to say it either.
Let's just call it LC.
Yeah, okay.
And the Zephyr Sanctum. So initially when I got there I just thought like it looks amazing. Once again they've put just so much work into the actual environment of it. I mean, I just look up and there's just all these like ropes everywhere and kites, and I was just like, wow. It's really sort of Oriental and Canthony, which does that say anything to you? Do you think about Cantha again? And we always kind of bring it back to this, but do you think it says anything about development, or do you think it's purely the lore kind of it? Because we'll go into that a little bit later. But
I think they know we go crazy for Cantha, and so they were just like, you're not going to get it anytime soon, so here's a little sprinkling of Canthan chocolate sprinkles for us to enjoy, and then, but I definitely think it's, they're planning to expand on it, because the whole ship is made of bamboo. The bamboo's got to come from somewhere, so eventually they'll get there, even if it's through living story or through an expansion. I think either way we'll definitely get there. I mean, they'd be nuts not to.
Alright, so there are tons of activities and things on offer, so we'll just go through them as we always do. First off, Belcher's Bluff. This is like the one thing I haven't had a chance to do yet, but I know you have, Ali.
Yes,
So,
I love it.
do you want to explain what it's all about to maybe people that don't know?
So Belcher's Bluff is basically a mini game where it's meant to be like a drinking game, where you're meant to outdrink your opponents, like you've seen in many movies. One that comes to mind is Indiana Jones at the start. But basically this one is kind of like you both have a set health pool and you kind of have to bluff your way. That's why it's called Belcher's Bluff, because you can't drink the most, you have to bluff that you can do. So your first move is to drink the drink, which is Omnom berry juice, and that hurts you apparently. And so the second skill is to bluff the drink. However, your bluff can be caught out by your number 4 skill by the other player. So if the other player uses number 4, when you bluff, you get hurt even more. So, and then you can also drink water, and there's also signature moves that also can be done that will kind of mix up the game and add a little extra spice to it. So it's really, really interesting kind of mini game that can either be played against 5 NPCs that are scattered around the home cities, or you can play against other characters, and it is a thing that is meant to be played against other characters, because the NPCs, you can kind of get a strategy and learn to beat them every time, but people are very different and they don't think the same way, so it's going to be really interesting. I've only played a few people using the kits. I've mostly done it against NPCs to get my signature moves, because that's how you get the signature moves, but I love it. It is so much fun. It is really like, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I love the fast-paced action of it. Like, you only have 5 seconds to think about what your next move is going to be, and like, they just bluffed, so does that mean that they're going to bluff again, or does that mean they're going to take a drink? And it's so interesting. I love it.
So I can't wait to try it. I just haven't had the time yet. Have you played it, Steve?
Yeah, I did about 2 of the NPCs, and I played once against somebody in the guild, but they kind of just want to farm the achievements, so they kind of were like cheating with each other, so I didn't really see the point of playing with them anymore.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yeah, and but the one thing I know that they fixed that you could do was you used to be able to have food that gives you regen, and when you go into the mini game now, it actually removes all food that you've eaten, so you can't have any secret regen to try and cheat your way of beating other people.
Yeah, I love the things. Sometimes they say the weirdest things in the patch notes. Like when one of the characters was too tough, he used his signature move all the time, which was a critique move. And the move was called critique, and the notes in the patch were, this person, I can't remember the Norn's name, the Norn name has stopped being so critical of everyone, stopped critiquing everyone all the time, so he's lightened up, and that sort of thing. And with the Belcher's Bluff, when they changed the food thing, like you just said, they changed, the way they said it was, Belcher's Bluff can now only be played on an empty stomach. So I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. They have a little bit of fun with their patch notes.
I wonder if that'll work with the consumables that you get from chests or that you can purchase, because there is a health regen consumable. I wonder if it'll cleanse that as well. I haven't tested it yet.
Probably will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, so the next thing is the Lessons from the Sky Scavenger Hunt, going around finding all the sky crystals. This is actually one scavenger hunt that I've actually enjoyed doing, purely because of the aspect powers that you have to use to get to all locations. Normally, I'm not too keen on them, but I've actually really enjoyed this one. You two, have you done it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I went around with my guildie. My guildie was showing me how to do most of them. So I'm like 3/4 of the way there at the moment, and now I'm trying to find the last 10 on my own. They're really hard, some of them. Yeah. But I actually think there was a lot of possibility that these aspects could go wrong, that the mechanics would just really frustrate you and that sort of thing, but they did it really well, and I really feel like I'm getting this extra control from my character, and I really enjoy it. The only thing that stops me, like I can only play for a certain amount of time, is that I get really sick from the camera angles, and that's the only thing that really stops me from really, really enjoying it.
I think the reason why the skills might have been successful is because they're probably based off of skills currently in the game. So like the dash is kind of like ride the lightning. The pounce is kind of like the rifle 5 for engineers, where you just bounce and jump on an area. So I think it was good that they could transition those abilities and that they're not buggy, so they're kind of like tested already. As far as the actual sky crystals themselves, there are actually 53, so you don't need to get all of them to get the achievement. So don't think that you have to get every single one if you're having difficulty. You could, just like put one down or try to get other ones if you're having difficult with one that's frustrating.
Yeah, I've definitely.
I think a lot of people, they like to do it in the beginning, so people just sometimes just go to Delphi and go straight there. I'm trying to do it without Delphi. Obviously, this weekend it's a little difficult for me to do it because it is Evo, so I'm kind of into fighting games, so I'm watching that. But I definitely am going to try. I got about 10 or 15 of them, and I'm going to try next week to get as many as I can without going to Delphi, because it seems really enjoyable. Like I'm kind of having a little bit of difficulty climbing up the mast to the top of the ship, and it's fun because like I think like while you're waiting to see how to get up there, you can kind of look around, and it gives you time to enjoy the scenery of the place, which I think when I initially saw the picture, what was that, almost a month ago, of the airship, I thought it was like an art drawing. I didn't think it would look like that in game, and it really does, which is really impressive.
Yeah.
And I think I've decided not to go to Delphi yet. I just want to try and do it myself. I probably will end up going there to get it in the end. I hope I can do most of it without it though. But it really is, I think, a great, combined with the skills and the everything about it. I think this is probably one of the best parts of any of the living story that I've had so far.
So good then. Have either of you two been to the highest point in the game with the diving goggles on it?
Yeah.
I stood there before I actually jumped, I was stood there for about 10 minutes just going, wow, just looking out. I must have taken like at least 20, 30 screenshots just of the clouds, but still it's like, it's the highest point in the game.
Is that really so it's like technically the highest point?
I think, yeah.
Oh wow, that's cool.
It's the highest dive and the longest fall time, definitely, that they've ever done. So the falling time is quite long. I remember falling down.
Awesome.
I'm like, this is so cool. Oh my god, this is so cool. Oh my god, how long is this gonna go for?
I know the fractals can be pretty long. If you fall off the edge of the fractals, because you fall into the mist.
Yeah, but you have to glitch for that one.
That's true.
Righty then. So Sanctum Sprint was another thing that came with the Bazaar of the Four Winds. Oh my god, I love Sanctum Sprint because it's pretty much exactly like Roller Beetle Racing, just Guild Wars 2-ified. And I'm terrible at it, but I'm addicted to it. It's just
Makes you feel all ooey gooey inside.
I just get so competitive. Like when someone passes me, I'm like, no.
I don't normally swear a lot because my husband really frowns when I do it, but in this game I cannot help it. I'm like, oh, little bugger. Well, of course, it's a little bit more colourful than the bugger, but it's such a little. If someone hits me with a lightning bolt and then passes me, I'm like, I'm going to kill you. Yeah, super competitive in that game.
Yeah, it's really long as well. Like it takes quite a while to get around it all. When I first did it, I was like, okay, surely it must have looped. I didn't realise it just went round like once, because obviously in the original Roller Beetle Racing you went round. Did you go round a few times?
No, I'm pretty sure you only went around once.
Oh, no, I don't know. It's late. It's late and it was years ago.
English. Oh, did you?
Wait. So I was convinced like I was just going round and round and round, but then I realised actually I've only just gone round it once, and I was like, So I mean, props to them. I really enjoy it, and they've obviously put a lot of work into it because there's so many different like paths you can take to where you're actually going to go. So Yeah.
They give very good diverging paths. Either you can go around the safe way, or you can use the number 3 skill, which is a bit iffy sometimes. You know, it does have its fair share of glitches. Like a few times I press 3, and it's meant to teleport me to the next thing, and it just completely overshoots me, and I fall down. And I'm like, yeah. And another one is sometimes like, you know, where you stand, that shows you where you're meant to stand to get the teleport to the little pinnacle, the lightning thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll stand there and I'll be like, come on, change, and change. And like 5 people were passing, and I'm still like kind of position my character around to get it to change.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think one of the things that are like that might not be immediately noticeable to people is the sunlight dash. I think it's the number 1, right? Where you turn into the golden light. You could press that again to cancel it. So you know, if anybody had any issues like doing certain parts of it, you know, that's one of the things that that might help you. Is the fact that you can actually cancel it, so you don't go the full distance.
Yeah, that's a big important one, because if people don't do that, I think there's a lot of places where you'll just always fall if you don't use the number 2 that much. I also found that if you want to be first, you have to use 3 a lot, like the ground targeted 3 to like you're running, and if there's, you know, you can just use that to get places faster, which I didn't think of until I watched a video on it.
Yeah, I think that's the great thing about one thing that Guild Wars 2 doesn't lack from is streamers. You know, we don't have the viewers yet of, let's say, you know, larger games, but we do have tons of streamers. So if ever you want to just and pretty much every profession. So if ever you want to watch other people do it live, you know, or on YouTube, obviously, there's definitely a lot out there for people to watch.
Yeah.
To learn a lot about the game or your class or anything like that.
On building on that, I've actually always thought that Guild Wars 2 has had, and Guild Wars 1, they've both always had sort of the best information for a game around. Like in any other MMO, the wiki isn't half as good as the Guild Wars ones are, for example. I mean, you can find out pretty much anything you want to. And
that's very true.
I've always been kind of awe about it. Like people actually spend their time just putting it on there for everyone else, and so yeah, that's just Rowan's thing of the day.
Well, you could see how like ArenaNet stresses about it. You know, there's a /wiki command in the game which will automatically open the wiki for you, and also they had some posts that I think they reached 20,000 articles or something like that. They had 10,000 before the game came out, so I think it's something that ArenaNet knows and they put a lot of pride in is their wiki. So it's good that, you know, that we all notice it and appreciate it.
Alrighty then, let's move on to the achievement updates that came with the patch. We will come back to the whole Zephyrite and lore and all that in a bit. But the achievement updates, I love the achievement. I'm finally getting rewarded for all these points. The Zenith weapon skins I'm in love with.
Yes, they are beautiful.
They are. They're really nice.
Which ones have you gone for? Which skins?
I think if you don't get the great sword, you're missing out, because ArenaNet, someone who makes the great sword skins knows how to make great sword skins. They are just, I don't know what it goes on in their mind, but they must dream about great sword skins because they make such good ones. So the first one I got, even though I don't use great sword on a lot of characters, I got the great sword skin just because it was just the best.
I actually, because one of the difficulties you have with pistol isn't very noticeable. So you may have like a really cool looking pistol, and you know, maybe some people like that, but once I saw the pistol skin, I think it really went well because I finally got the super adventure shield. So it really went well with the shield that kind of, you know, I don't know, looked very glowy, I guess the word would be. So I really liked that. Oh, and just so people know, if you're wondering why you're not getting all your achievement things, you get achievement rewards once daily until it catches up. So, you know, if you have like a few thousand points, you're like, why did I only get one chest or a couple? You're going to get it daily until you catch up, so don't worry.
Yeah.
I think ArenaNet just didn't want to like shove 10,000 chests down your throat the first day.
No.
Yeah.
Because you actually
Which is
Yeah,
thoughtful.
for sure.
you get quite a lot like in just the one chest, because you get the chest and you get another chest to open inside it, and that's filled with just buttloads of stuff. So
Yeah, immediately when I thought of that, like I thought about Exhibit. You know, like, yo, dog, I heard you like chests, so I put chests in your chest. Like,
I know a lot of people are really happy about the badges of honor. Like they don't have to
Yeah.
farm.
yes.
A lot of people are happy about that.
And there's boxes of fun everywhere. Everywhere you walk,
Yes.
Guild Wars 2, there is a box of random fun.
Yeah.
So I might get a bit of flack for this, but the weapon skins, the Zenith weapon skins I actually got were the Trident and Spear for underwater, because
Oh, that's good.
Trident and Spear, you got 2?
yeah, purely because on my Guardian at the moment, my underwater weapons are just literally like what you'd expect a level 1s to look like. They're just abysmal. So I thought I've pimped out the rest of it when it's not underwater, so I can't kind of just go and leave it like this. But I don't want to actually spend any gold on it because I'm never underwater. So it's kind of like the perfect opportunity for me.
Yeah, that was
That's
my
true.
reasoning for getting the Kraken was like, I'm an Ellie, I can only use Trident. So, you know, this is a long-term investment. So I went and got that one.
That one is really cool. Like, somebody else I know got that one as well. And that is that's probably one of my favorite is the Kraken. Like, it's just incredible looking with the snakes and everything. It's so cool.
I actually, I'm just gonna say I was originally gonna for my underwater weapons gonna go for the weapons of the mist, like the purpley ones, because actually the underwater ones look actually really nice.
They do, yeah.
And if you don't know, my char is basically just a whore for the mist weapons. That's all it wears. So, but it's too expensive, and I can't be bothered farming all the ectos. So, I gave up on that dream.
Yeah.
So what'd you guys
Yeah.
think about the actual achievement UI?
I actually really like it. I think I actually thought before they did this that it was getting really messy with like all the old living story things just kind of dotted around on the left. But now that they've put it into its own sort of like historical tab, and it's all nice, and I love just things that are like boxed off and neat. So I really like it.
Yeah. I have to admit, when I first saw it, I was really like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But when I learned how to use it and how to see where everything is, it is so much better. Really good. The watch list is very nice, and you know, it just feels a little bit more complete, a little bit more, you know, like seeing the boxes fill up with complete feels really nice.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that like one of the key things is like achievements are always overwhelming because there's typically games have so many. So I think the fact that it does seem to be like logically compartmentalized into like individual parts of it, where it's not just like a whole list and then just a list next to it.
Yeah.
It just seems more like an interface that would be in your smartphone, which typically are some of the best interfaces to have a lot of information in a small screen area. So I think they did a really good job developing that, it seems. And the fact that you could track it easily now, it's like you just tag it with a little eye.
I think
You're right. It just seems a little bit more developed than it was.
Yeah.
It seems a little bit better configured.
for me, I'm actually for the first time I'm really sort of concerned about the achievement points. Not in a bad way. That I really want to just get more and more of them now. Like,
Yeah, same here.
What-
I go through my tabs like, what can I get? When before I was like,
Yeah, I'm just doing that now because I'm like, yesterday I was thinking, you know what, I've got to catch up to Ali in these achievement points. I think you've got like double mine. I was like, no, when I stop getting these chests, she's going to keep going for a few more days. I can't have that.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like a shopping list anymore.
Yeah. Alright. So Ali, do you want to talk about your data mined shizzle before I'm going to go on a rampage on lore in a minute? So before that,
Okay,
you can do your
alright.
data mine thing.
Can you contain yourself? I can see you're so excited. Yeah, so this data mine thing might be actually it's going to be a bit of a spoiler for the next living story part. As you know, this isn't a spoiler because it is already out there. As you know, there's going to be an election between Evan and Keel, and this is going to expand on information that was data mined from that. So if you don't want to hear about it, if you want to like get it in real time, just close your ears for a little while.
We'll
You know, just put on mute. Yeah, I'll wave like this. When I do the spazzy disco dance, you'll know. Yeah, so I'm going to kind of spoil a little bit of that. So a lot of information was data mined recently about, and oh my gosh, I've lost the page where I had it up. What the?
So
yeah.
unprofessional.
So I found it again. So basically, there is going to be an election for the next, because as you know, the Char representative, or not the Char representative, the Ashford. So a human on the Captain's Council died, so they're going to have an elections for a new one, and the two contenders that have been put up are Keel and Yvonne. And Keel, as you know, was the main character through the South Sun Cove and the Aether Blade stuff, and then Even is Even Nashblade from the Trading Post, and he's like a major person in the Trading Post. And so there's going to be an election between the two. And there's actually going to be an in-game vote, which I think will rely on us. I hope will rely on us. We don't quite know. But they're kind of like, for example, websites have been sent posters which are like vote for Keel, and then another poster which is vote for Evan, and they've gotten little badges. And by the way, I would kill someone for a vote for Keel poster. If you have a spare vote for Keel poster and it's not doing anything, I will give you my firstborn for it. So can I please have it? Anyway, I'm going to like plug that on every show that I'm on. But yeah, so they're sending out those posters, so that means that there's going to be like, they're really trying to hype up this election between the two. And this is where the spoilers get really, really really interesting. This is Evan Nashblade's slogan. This is, you know, how they have like a policy of, if I get elected, this is Evan's Nashblade's policy. Help me win a seat on the Captain's Council and you'll reap the following benefits. For a limited time, I will reduce the cost of Black Lion keys. You know you want them. To celebrate our newly formed trade agreement, I will host a thrilling and dangerous competition on the shores of South Sun Cove. I will work with the consortium representative to analyze the defining moment in the Molten Alliance struggle in the fractals of the Mist Laboratory. So, basically summing that up is, if you vote for Evan, in the Fractals, the Molten Alliance dungeon will become available in Fractals of the Mist. You'll get, for a limited time, a reduced in Black Lion keys, and a thrilling and dangerous competition will be hosted on the shores of South Sun. This is Ellen's slogan. If I win this seat on the... I have to get in my female voice, actually. If I win the seat on the Captain's Council, I vow to enact the following. Fast travel services are far too expensive. With me on the council, I will reduce the cost of waypointing travel for all citizens. To celebrate the trade agreement with our new friends, I will organise a competition at Zephyr Sanctum where the strongest and bravest can test their mettle. I will consult the consortium on researching the key moment in our fight against the Aether Blades using their experimental and highly controversial Fractals of the Mist lab. So that's my Ellen Keel voice. So basically summing up, if Ellen Keel is elected, there will be a reduce in waypointing costs. There will be she will organise a competition at the Zephyr Sanctum, and the Aether Blade dungeon will be available in the Fractals of the Mist. Oh my god! Keep the fangirl in. Keep the fangirl in, Casey. I really absolutely love this concept if we can vote for it. And I have said before this that I absolutely love Ellen. If I could marry any woman, it would be Ellen, because she is just fantastic. So I really looking forward to this, and I hope Ellen wins. And I just want that poster of vote for Ellen because she looks so cool. But yes, fangirl in. What do you guys think?
I actually wouldn't mind having the Aether Blade dungeon back again, even though it was a bitch to me.
I think that's a big point for everyone, whether they want the Molten or the Aether.
But at the same time, if it's going in fractals and I'm doing a run in fractals, I actually want to be successful. So for me, I'd be more successful in the Molten Facility one, but I don't know. I don't know which I'd vote for. I'd have to see. I'd probably just be like blind, like.
Oh no! If you don't know, vote for Ellen. Everyone, if you don't know, vote for Ellen. I'm never political, not even about my own country's politics, but I want Ellen to win.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably actually vote for Ellen. I think both of the dungeons I enjoy. It's just I wouldn't vote for Nashblade because of his principles. Like, even when you talk to him, he's like, I'm here just to make the money. If I got to put on a fake face or anything like that, so that's not the style. I'd rather vote for the
But he's a char.
the moral.
We all know my
Keel, I
views on
think.
Char.
Yeah, I agree. Keel is a lot better. She's like a champion of the people, and I feel that a lot. Like, for some people, they're definitely going even, and some people they're definitely going Keel. But it's really difficult, especially since that Ellen is someone that we did the whole storyline with, and we did a lot of things with her. So I personally feel attached to her, but I know some people just clicked through everything and didn't really care about Ellen very much at all.
In all honesty, if this is like being voted on by the players, I genuinely think Keel will win.
Oh, I hope so.
Because
You just made my heart feel fuzzy.
But I think obviously the cheaper waypoints people, I think that wins against the Black Lion keys. Secondly,
Especially since the Black Lion keys are temporary. Sorry.
yeah. Secondly, she's human, and people just anything that's human is gonna win against anything else, guaranteed. Because people are boring and they go for humans all the time.
No, she's not boring. She's awesome.
And then thirdly, because probably the Aether Blade, I think people probably enjoyed more than Molten Facility. Generally.
Really, a lot of people told me that they would vote for Evan just to get the Molten Facility
Really?
back. Yeah.
I think because it's older, also.
I know a lot of people have like this lovely nostalgic memory of it being the best dungeon ever put into the game. And so a lot of people are going to like want that dungeon because they seem to think it was the best dungeon in the game. Personally, I love the Aether Blade a lot more.
I suppose we'll see, really, which one wins.
Mm-hmm. We shall see.
Yeah, I like both of them, so it's a win-win.
Yeah, you can't really go too far wrong either way.
Yeah, as long as they didn't say we'll give you the one that was in South Sun Cove with what's his name, the single boss fight with the guy in the.
Ugh.
He said
that response.
It was like a third person, like vote for me gets like 3 votes.
Oh
Absolute
god,
fun.
yeah.
What was his name? Oh god, just erased from my memory.
Nox? No.
I thought it was something with.
I don't know.
Caleb, no. We're terrible.
Leave comments at the bottom of the show.
My furious typing
It's
it.
just how much we hated it that much that we just erased the characters' names from our mind.
Kanak.
Yeah, it was. Kanak, yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
It was just, there was nothing. Yeah, it's like vote for me and I'll bring back Kanak. Absolutely not.
Nope.
Alright, so the moment has arrived. It's time for my lore rampage. This is like the only piece of lore I actually understand, and I've literally spent like 20 minutes. I've got like half a page of what's going on here. I'm not stopping for no one. So if I do get something wrong, which is inevitable,
Release the fanboy.
do like just step in and say, well, actually, because knowing me, I've probably got something wrong.
Oh, I love it. Okay, go.
Okay, so with the Bazaar of the Four Winds and the Zephyr Sanctum and all that, there has been quite a lot of development in some aspects of lore, which relating mostly to sort of Guild Wars 1 lore, which prior to this, a lot of people have been kind of feeling that maybe they've abandoned a lot of the canon they've established, or not necessarily taken it as far as they could have done. Basically, I'll describe what I know. If you want to find out more, I do recommend Wooden Potatoes' video on it, because that's just amazing. It covers pretty much everything that you need to know. That will be in the show notes. So here's my basic Rowan's version. So Zephyrites are a group consisting mostly of humans of Canthan and Elonian descent who live in the Zephyr Sanctum, which is basically the large sky ship, they're very rarely seen. The Pale Tree actually has no records of them. That's correct, isn't it?
That is actually something you've got me on. I have no idea. I wouldn't imagine she would.
I think that's correct. Anyway, let's just say it is, because...
Yeah.
So they know they harness the power of wind, sun, and lightning, and we've seen from dialogue that's around the NPCs and all that they have ties to Glint. If you haven't played Guild Wars 1 or you haven't read Destiny's Edge, Glint is basically an ex-champion of Kralkatorrik who was kind of originally corrupted by him during his first awakening, and then I won't go into how she became uncorrupted and all that. You can read about that yourself, because that's going to take forever. But basically, she wasn't, and she basically helped Destiny's Edge to fight to Kralkatorrik, and I won't spoil anything else in case you haven't read it or whatever. But she basically, I kind of have to actually for the next bit.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
If you don't want to listen, just bugger off for a bit. So. Okay, so they fought Kralkatorrik, and Glint was killed in the process. So the Zephyrites have basically been her protectors / helpers / they were called her defenders of heritage. But prior to this, it was the dwarves. But obviously, in Guild Wars 1, they were turned to stone. They've kind of diminished now. Guild Wars 2, Ogden Stonehealer is the only one left. Is that right? One left, and then they became her sort of protectors, defenders. And what's interesting is that in short story produced by Angel McCoy on the Guild Wars 2 website, we see that the Zephyrites searching for essentially the battleground where it happened with Kralkatorrik, Destiny's Edge, and searching kind of what's the word? Basically to determine whether or not Glint actually did die, because
fossils.
Yeah. No, okay. So
an autopsy.
No, I got it. It was like determining, but it was another word, but I just used that one.
Confirming?
Yeah, that yeah. This is going so well.
This is becoming a word podcast. Like thesaurus.
So
go on.
This was during the year 1320, which is 5 years before the Guild Wars 2 events begin. And in this short story, it mentions that they recover something from Glint, and no one actually knows what it is. It could literally be like a piece of her body. They mention that they hold it in their hands and feel the power of it. But as Wooden Potatoes actually does suggest, it could potentially instead be Glint's offspring, which is in Guild Wars 1. We were tasked with defending it from Primordius's destroyers. And it's interesting because after that there was no mention of it. Like literally until now, no one could even speculate on what could have happened to it. Okay, so the way I see it, there's no reason to say that they couldn't have found both. Normally, judging literally just on the story, I'd have probably said it was just a piece of Glint herself, because literally holding it in their hands, crystallized Glint corpse, all that thing. But since the Zephyrites are actually mentioned as being the defenders of heritage of Glint, hinting at her offspring, So basically, the Zephyrites now possessing something like this, perhaps not only protecting and keeping alive the memory of Glint, but maybe also preparing for a time when Crown Clitoric could be defeated with their help. I don't know, this is just like me going off on one now. I'm kind of curious guys, what you guys think about all this. I mean, who actually says they had to find both, say, the offspring and Glint's corpse at the same time? Maybe one theory I was reading about is that they were tasked with defending Glint's offspring before she even met with Destiny's Edge and all that, so they've already had that, and then now they've obviously gone and found Glint's corpse with all that. So what do you guys think about it all?
I was about to say that because in Guild Wars 1 you actually get to the defending Glint's baby challenge from the Dwarven. I think it's either from from a dwarf or from the Azuran thing. I can't remember where it starts.
It's a dwarf inside the central transfer chamber.
That's it. Yeah. So I already think that the dwarves already had the baby, and when they took over protecting it, because why would such a community need to exist? Like once the dwarves die, why would people take it upon themselves to protect? Almost nothing, but protect that sort of heritage, and a rallying point would be a baby. Like having a baby to protect is something that would really pull people together and convince them to leave their homes on the ground and go into the sky. So I think they already had the baby, and the things that they found were probably Glint's scales, but Glint's scales are such a major point. Like they make a point in the end of the Destiny's Edge book where Keith goes along in the sand trying to find scales. What she's doing with the scales at the moment, I have no idea, but that's a big point. So I'm on the fence of that they already have the baby. Either it's lifting their ship up, they're flying around with a baby underneath. I think a baby of Glint, especially after all these years, would be a really hard thing to hide. So I don't think they have the baby there. But if you see, if you talk to an Azura as on the ship, the Azura goes, "These people are hiding something. I feel something within the ship," or something like that. And so I think whatever is in the ship is probably the bit of Glint that they found, whether it's an egg or I don't know, or a piece of him.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I was thinking as. Like, if it happened in Guild Wars 1, that's at least 250 years ago. So how much does the dragon or whatever species Glint is, how much does it grow in 250 years? We don't know how long they live, but 250 years seems like a reasonable amount of time where some sort of ancient species would at least grow to, to their young adult years. And
it was already quite big.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't. Yeah. Okay. So, the other thing that I was thinking about was when I look at the ship, I don't see how it's keeping itself aloft. Normally, the other ships they had like a Zeppelin type of look to them, where that there's air in there, because I was looking at the ship and it has sails, and I'm like, well, it has sails, and I'm imagining it as a kite, and that's kind of how I was imagining it. But then I'm saying, well, what happens if there isn't enough wind? How does this ship? How does the ship stay? What's its propulsion? What makes it stay up in the air? Well, we know it's propulsion. Its propulsion is the wind that uses the sails, but what's making it levitate? Because normally without any sort of helicopter or any sort of engine, which we don't see, the only other option would be some sort of gas. So it does make you think that there is something, and now what Ali was referencing to an Asoran interest, which we know they're very attuned to that sort of thing, that there is some sort of power or artifact or, like you said, a piece of Glint that could be the reason why that this ship is actually in the air.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are speculating that what they found was a piece of Glint, and that the crystals, the wind, air, water, they learnt to master that from Glint herself, and so the crystals are actually pieces of Glint. That is what people are saying. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But It is definitely a really interesting theory, and I'm really glad that they're going back to that lore, trying to answer some questions or trying to tantalize us with some possible answers to certain things. And it really is a good direction. I think the Zephyrites are probably something that will not stay forever, but are definitely reoccurring.
And I think one of like the other really cool things about it is like I know some of the lore. You know, I'm not the most in-depth lore person, but I know some of the lore just from listening to you guys or Wooden Potatoes or just going through the game. It was kind of surprising as somebody who isn't a lore expert to be on the ship itself and then hear an older lady speaking to children about Glint. And that made me stop and listen because, oh, I've heard this name before. Like, what is this about? And then it's a pretty detailed story spoken out. So I think it covers a lot of things for people that they didn't feel connected to the first game. But I think also it's for people who aren't really knowledgeable of lore to finally have something, you know, right in front of you, so to speak, where you can catch. And the song is really cool too. I know that.
Oh my god, isn't it so cool?
When they sing from one to the next, like you could kind of follow them around as they're singing. I thought that was really cool as well.
That was awesome. When I first had, I was with someone who was showing me how to get crystals, and she was just showing me and I was following her around, and then I heard her singing, and I'm like, singing! Like in capitals in chat. And I just had to go and sit there and listen. And it's such, I bet you, I'm sorry if I get this wrong to anyone that written it, but I bet you Rudy Soesby wrote that because it is such a beautiful lyrics and so well written without, not being obvious, in glinting beams. Oh my god, the stuff just the lyrics of it was just really lovely, and as always, written it produces these beautiful tunes, and my heart. I can't contain all the love for Internet at the moment. Yeah. I tell you what, if I could meet someone from Internet, I would probably scare them away because I'm just so full of love for them. Yeah.
So one thing I did want to ask is, with all this development with lore around Glint, is it an indication that we could be seeing Kralkatorrik as the next major dragon? Or do you think it's literally just them fleshing out one area and with no sort of intention to go to Kralkatorrik next?
I think they're not even thinking about what dragon to do next.
Good point.
I mean, is it something where once a year we'll be fighting a new dragon? Like, will that be their yearly thing? So it could be something as close as, 2 or 3 months away, when the game was actually released, that we'll now be fighting another dragon. It could be that, because we're looking towards anniversaries. But then again, are they in a rush to exhaust their finite amount of dragons on a yearly basis? Because this game definitely has a lot of staying power in my mind. I could see it easily running, a decade or so, like Guild Wars 2 or Guild Wars 1.
I definitely don't think we'll be seeing a dragon in the next 3 months. We might be told that we might be seeing a dragon sometime soon or sometime in the next 6 months, but I definitely not know 100%, but just from everything that they're saying and everything like that, their minds are so keenly focused on trying to perfect the living story that I think, to introduce a dragon like that is not something that they can do at the moment, and they're thinking about introducing a dragon through living story or thinking about doing him through an expansion. Either way, it's going to take some time.
Yeah, I think that's a real key point. Is it could be also another way to look at it as, maybe we're not fighting the dragon, maybe a part of living story, 2 weeks we'll be able to sort of fight the dragon, but it's not a real-on combat. It's sort of our first experience meeting another dragon, and then it doesn't end with you slaying the dragon, but driving the dragon off. It could be something like that. Because we are coming to a year, and you have to think that they're going to have something special for the year, which is, I definitely trust you more than anything else, during my intuitions, but the strength of a year, it's something that it's interesting to think about, to say the least.
All right. Anything else to say on the whole Glinty, Laurie, Zephyr thing, or? Have we
And I think we
exhausted it?
covered it pretty well.
Okay, so one last thing we'll go over is, of course, the Skyhammer PvP map. This is probably Steve's area of expertise more than you or mine, but I've actually been playing it PvP quite a lot this month. I decided to go for the PvP monthly instead of the normal one this month, just to switch it up a bit. And I actually really like the Skyhammer map. I think my favourite thing to do is to troll people with the fear and then the holographic tiles. So I'm a bit of a bastard like that, but so
Yeah, I think
you guys think?
like there's a couple things before that. Just from the patch,
Yeah.
siege blueprints are now not account bound, so you could trade them on the trading post, and you can give them to other people, which is pretty big because originally siege was always soul bound, then they made it account bound, and now they're letting us be free with as much siege as we need, which is definitely interesting. And I wonder how that's going to affect, like the possibility of guild pools, like pulling all your siege together and then allowing whoever is the normal siege person to use their siege, who's whatever, for assignments. So I think that's definitely something that's very interesting, and it was kind of just briefly mentioned, but it's definitely interesting. Also, celestial armor, which is a new craftable armor, and basically celestial armor is an even amount of every stat. So how that would be for people, that's something I'm not quite sure about. It's kind of like the divinity runes, which give you 10 of each stat. It's a similar kind of thing where it's a certain amount of every stat evenly distributed. And I think it's interesting. Maybe would it be something that a character can use? I don't know. But it's something that's interesting, and maybe you guys could check out and see if you're interested in that at all. And of course, the new map, which is Skyhammer. And the big thing about Skyhammer is Necrofear is OP.
Yeah, I've started playing a Necro, and yes.
And so I think as far as Necros go, a lot of people are screaming at the top of their lungs about how bad Necros are. I think finally the fact that we are screaming something like that is a good thing. There's certain classes, Elementalist, Guardian, that have been always top tier. And now it's good that Necros can get their moment in the light. As far as tuning, I think Necro might just have Terror nerfed a little bit because of the one shot or 3-shot potential of Necros, where you can just get burst down really quick. As far as Skyhammer themselves, I think it's been universally liked. It's one of those maps that pretty much everybody has enjoyed. It has an interesting mechanic. Basically, there is a cannon that you have to actually go through a teleport to get to. And the cannon is unblockable or undodgeable, so you can't dodge out of it. However, it does have it gives you a big ring, and it has like the whole, I think Dagger 5 on Elementalist, the big explosion bleed with Earth that you have on your Elementalists. It gives that animation, so it's a big long animation where you have enough time to get out of. And that's kind of the fire from the cannon. The cannon, it moves quickly. It's not as slow as a trebuchet, and it could hit virtually anywhere in the map. The second mechanic is, like Rowan said, is the glass floors, where you can, if you step on them, they'll all of a sudden activate, and you'll start to see them blinking. And over a certain amount of time, it'll actually break open, and you'll fall through. And the map itself is above a desert, and it's a fall where you're going to die, or if you use some tricks like Necro stuff to survive, like your Death Shroud, there are invulnerable worms down there that will kill you. And you can't kill the worms. We tried. Doesn't work. They just own you. So it's good to go down there with a mind of dying. And that's another mechanic where there is actually, you have to be extremely positional aware. Not only where you're standing, but where you could be knocked back to. And that's one of the reasons where classes like Engineers, who have a lot of knockbacks, Guardians, and Necros, they kind of have their moment or level that they can shine in, because they have a lot of ability to knock back or displace people. As far as what people have been talking about with viability, a lot of people seem to think that it's not viable. I think that could be an initial impression. I think as far as top tier PvP players, a lot of top tier PvP players, positioning is very important to them, and they find it fun. Like, they enjoy the fact of the position game. It could make it so it might possibly accept it into rotation. This is something that we'll have to see and whether it's fleshed out or not. But I also think there are some things that need to be changed with the map to make it better viable. Currently, you could run in and out of the teleporter up to the cannon that's on top, and it's a fun way to troll people. It's like when you were younger as a kid, standing on another side of a car, and then your friend would try and chase you, and you would just consistently go back and forth in the car so they couldn't reach you. And that's kind of the same thing that could happen there, which is kind of frustrating. So what I was actually, there's a streamer, his name is BitCloud. I don't know if anybody's seen him. He's a great streamer. You guys should watch him. He's usually on at night because he works during the day. Or he works during the afternoon to the night, so he's usually on late night, like 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time or later. And he kind of had a love-hate relationship with Skyhammer because of the fact of the knockbacks and the knockdowns and the teleporter. And we were talking about it and trying to find a way to make it so we could do the map. But we thought a couple things that might help the map, and I'll see what you guys think. The one thing is, I think it might have to be thought about to make the cannon shot dodgeable, because if you get knocked down or something like that, you already have a chance where if you're CC'd, you're going to get hit by that cannon, and it does about 9,000 damage, which is a tremendous amount. And the other thing is, with the teleport, make it so it has a small cast time, 1 to 2 seconds, where it can be interrupted, because having somebody just be able to pop in and out is kind of frustrating. But other than that, the map itself is beautiful. They did an excellent with the design. It's extremely vertical. One other thing that they did that they should pass along to other maps, I don't know, is the actual cap zones themselves. They have a little clock timer on them to show how much it's being captured. So when you're spectating, a lot of times the confusion is you don't have the little bar in the upper right-hand corner that tells you how much it's to being decapped or capped. The actual graphic, the blinking red or blue or gray that's on the capture zone itself, it actually has like a pie chart or a clock where it'll physically show you on the capture point itself how much longer it is to being capped, neutralized, or decapped.
I actually never noticed that.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because like it's great for spectators, and if they want it to be, it'd be something great that they can implement across the board to all the zones. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the suggestion about the portal thing to the cannon, because I know for me personally, like the enemy team has been on the cannon. There's been like 3 people sometimes protecting it, and I've gone to try and take it as like a necro or a thief, and I've got owned, gone down to like a tiny fraction of health, and just zoomed out of the gate again, and no one's bothered to come and catch me. So it's been like, they didn't really achieve anything there. I just wasted their time, and I've still like gone away and then gone to capture a point again without being like punished for it. So
yeah, it's definitely interesting. Like, I mean, that's kind of fun. You could throw down like one of your fear bombs, and then everybody just runs off the edge.
I've done that.
Yeah, and that's interesting. It's really, you wonder how people are going to accept it. Whether they're going to say, okay, certain classes have to be on cannon, because we need a class that has a knockback or has stability where they can, avoid the CC that's going to knock them, because it is a one-shot kill. It could be frustrating for people. You get knocked off and you're going to die. And unless you put on, maybe that'll give encouragement for people to actually use like the half falling damage stuff. You don't know, because it really depends on the community to see how they're going to like it professionally. But as far as casually, I think it's a great map and a lot of people like it. Yeah. And it shows you how much that arena net could vary on the capture point to make it seem like it's almost an entirely different game style on that map. Yeah. And as you can see, Ali is so like interested once we stop talking about lore. She is just on the edge of her seat, loving all the talk about the new PvP zone.
I haven't played the map at all, and I'm not good at PvP. I have nothing. I've been trying to rack my brains of something I can contribute, and I had nothing to contribute. Like, sometimes I just glaze over. I'm so sorry.
Well, what about lore? Do you think that perhaps that the actual zone itself, it seemed like a very desert type zone, and I don't know if we have like a large desert area in the Guild Wars universe that we really had a chance to explore yet.
We have
The fractals of the mist are ArenaNet's excuse. Like, anything they want to do to bypass lore, they're like, fractals of the mist. So, like, fractals of the mist could be in Alona when the Azura have taken over Alona in, like, 50,000 years of the future. Nothing in the fractals of the mist, unless it's in the past, really makes that much sense.
Okay.
So, like, yeah, so like the Skyhammer map could, obviously, because it's Azuran technology, and it does, a lot of people have said that it looks like the Crystal Desert and Alona. Yeah. I don't know when the Azura are gonna have enough time to install random stuff like that in the Crystal Desert, but it's gonna be so far in the future, so I have nothing to contribute lore-wise.
Well, I think that was a contribution.
Yay! I contribute something.
Yeah. Next week, Ali, PvP specialist. The one other thing that I wanted to kind of take away. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask if anyone else said anything. So, go on.
Well, yeah, like the kind of thing I wonder about, like just thinking about how gorgeous the zone is. We know that the PvP maps are usually developed over a long course of time because it requires a lot of Q&A, a lot of testing, and a lot of what do they call that? Instances of it where they iterations of it.
Yeah.
But it also, as far as like the zone goes, I mean, the new zone is pretty big, and the last zone was, we see that there's like pretty large areas that they're making, and I kind of wonder about how long the development time is, because a lot of the people they seem to think that it's 2 weeks. So it takes them 2 weeks to do this, and then it comes out. And, we're starting to realize from what ArenaNet is saying that it's not, that they actually have 4 different teams working on this. And was this something that was different and out, and then they changed it? Like, because he said iteration is a part of development. Things change a lot. And I wonder about how long it's going to take them to react to the feedback they get now. Because I think that's a lot of what people have a misunderstanding about. Where they say, well, we want more permanent content. And then the next one comes out and there's not permanent content in it. And we say, well, they're not listening to us. So we don't know how long it takes for them to develop. And I think maybe if one day, if we do speak to ArenaNet dev, like that's one of the real things, I don't know about you guys, but I would really like ask them about is, about their development and how long it takes, because we see how like gorgeous this new zone is and how it's so well developed it is. There's not like there's no bugs anywhere, and I can't really think of any. Like it just seems so polished and fleshed out. Like how long is it going to take them to do that? So this way we can speculate better on what ArenaNet's going to do in the future. Because if we see, they're hearing a lot of this and they're saying this, like how long it's going to take them to get that thought that's in their heads or hear that feedback that we're making and then put that into the game.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Anything else from anyone to add before we wrap it up?
If we spoke long enough, maybe we could talk about expansions later and what they said, like what they're saying about expansions and stuff. So
yeah,
I think one thing quick I just want to say is people don't panic, because we were talking about this actually yesterday when we were discussing about our big news. Is that ArenaNet? We're going to get something like expansions, but they're going to be free, which is amazing. ArenaNet doesn't want to. They're making enough money through the gem store where they're not going to like. This is like just shows you how good they are. Like, normally, like you figure like somebody like we like to villainize certain companies where like they're money hoarders and they're looking at anything to make money and stuff like that. Like it seems like Guild Wars 2 is in a great place financially, so instead of charging us for expansions, they give us this living story, but have like huge like maybe seasonal packs. Like we're going to get something like an expansion, but we're not going to have to pay for it, which is really exciting. So I think that's something we should take away from, like, not driving it to the negative extreme of we're not getting expansions, they're not listening to us, they hate us, and yada yada yada. We're getting free content, which is just absolutely amazing. And I think we should try to look at that positive side when we think about what ArenaNet's doing in the future, because you can see of how gorgeous this content is that's coming out, and the idea of free content consistently being delivered and massive amounts of it is incredible. And I think we're going to have, sorry to keep going and going on, but I think we're going to have that zone where we're going to explore. It's going to be something new, that expansion feel, where we get to see a whole new area and new abilities and stuff like that. I think they're going to make something like that, a nice big stuff pack where they can have a nice big long patch note of all the new stuff we can do. But at the same time, they're not going to charge us for it, and that's just incredible to me.
Yeah.
But don't forget, nothing is set in stone. I mean, these are just passing comments made by people, and it's entirely possible for them to backpedal. After a year, they might go, this isn't working for us, the living story, or it is working, but we still want to release an expansion. Nothing is set in stone. It's not like they've gone, okay, we're definitely never going to introduce an expansion. We're only not even a year into the game, and they're releasing so much content. And I honestly don't feel like there's actually a need for an expansion right now. So I think that my personal opinion is that there will be an expansion one day, just not as soon as everyone is demanding there should be one, which is ridiculous, demanding that there's an expansion frustrates me.
I think a lot of times how on the internet, when people say something, we say pick or it didn't happen. I think we should say link or it didn't happen, because a lot of people like to exaggerate or say ArenaNet said they're never going to have an expansion. I think it's important to call people out who like to tell stories and be like, you got a link for that so I can actually look and see what they actually said. And I think that's important, like Ali said, that these are passing comments in an article where they're, just thinking about stuff. They're not necessarily sitting there with the development whole team there making that decision. It's just kind of this is what we're thinking about doing and stuff like that. And we should definitely call out to people who say ArenaNet's never, always, or any finality words type like that. And get links from those people, because they like to tell stories.
And that's our tip of the day.
Yay!
Alright, if that's everything then, we do have one piece of podcast-related news. We have recently formed a partnership.
We're canceling the show. I'm sorry to say, guys. This will be the last episode. We lied about Jason. He will not be coming back. He actually moved to Madagascar, and he's going to become he's going to become an oracle. He's full of wise words. He may be young, but he has a lot of wise words, and he'll be. If you want to visit him, you just got to take the trip to Madagascar and consult him with llamas and giraffes and stuff. Sorry, guys. This will be our last show.
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss you all.
No, I won't.
Wait, what? What do you mean? Did I hear something wrong?
Don't tell.
Oh, we're
Steve.
actually going to a live stream? Oh, sorry, Rowan. Oh man, I must have been the language barrier. I'm sorry.
Language barrier.
So, basically we have formed a partnership with Sitting on a Couch Gaming. That's sittingonacouch.com if you want to check it out, to bring you this podcast live. This is going to be starting in a few weeks' time, so basically just stay tuned and we'll have more info when we've got it, basically. As always, podcast@guildmag.com is the address for all your comments, suggestions and whatnot, and you can always use the comment system below if you're watching on YouTube or on the guildmag.com website. The link to all our Twitter accounts will also be in the show notes. We do love to hear what you guys want to say, so do please tweet us, and I guess we'll see you all next week. So, bye-bye.
Bye!
Don't forget to check out Sitting on a Couch Gaming. They're pretty good. Our new partner.